Hello, fifth graders. So today we're continuing on topic 2, and our lesson today is all about estimating sums and differences of decimals. All right, so I want to first talk about why do we even estimate? Why do you think we estimate to begin with before we actually solve a problem? Well, me as the teacher, I want to make sure that you practice estimation because it's a really important skill, and I want you guys to be able to determine the reasonableness of an answer. So for example, if I'm multiplying 9 times 18, okay, and let's say I get the answer of 2,450, if I want to check to see if that's reasonable, I can do some estimation. So 9 is really close to 10, 18 is close to 20. I know 10 times 20 is an easy mental math problem. It's 200. Okay, so does 2,450 seem anywhere close to 200? No. So that means that I have to look back at that problem and say, I might have made an error in that. So we estimate to check to see if our answer is reasonable. Okay, so when I say reasonable, I mean, does that answer make sense? Does it seem accurate? All right, so one way to estimate is to round. So you're going to round each addend. And what I mean by addend is those are the numbers that are being added. Round each addend to the nearest ones place, tens, or hundreds, okay? When we add decimals, we don't want to keep the decimals there anymore, all right? We want to make them a whole number, so it's easy to do mentally. So you're either going to add round to the nearest ones, tens, or hundreds, and it depends on which is easier to add or subtract mentally. So let's look at this for first example. It's 237 and 5/10 plus 345 and 1/10. So again, I'm trying to get rid of these decimals when I'm rounding, so I'm going to look at the ones place. And I'm going to look next door to that 5, okay? That 5 bumps up that 7 to a 238. And this 5, I'm going to look to the 1. That 1 keeps that 5 the same, so it's 345. Now, you may still not be able to add 238 and 345 in your head. Remember, when you're rounding, guys, you want to make it as easy as possible. So make it even easier. 238, if we're rounding actually to the nearest tens, okay, 238 is really close to 240. 345 is really close to 350. And that right here may be a lot easier to do mentally. So I can see that 240 plus 350 equals 590. Okay, so again, if you cannot do it in your head, like for example, this plus this, if you still could not do that in your head, make the rounding even easier. All right, so let's look at this next example. We have 24 and 8/10. Okay, I can think about what number is nice and easy. Remember, we talked about compatible numbers yesterday, numbers that are easy to do in your head. That's what you want to do, okay? So we can look at this place value, the ones, look to that 8, it bumps it up to a 25. Look at this 8, look to the neighbor, the 2, it keeps it at an 18. You can either do that in your head, or if you want to round that 18 to the nearest tens place, instead of it being 18, we can round it all the way up to 20. And I know 25 plus 20 is really easy to do in your head, and you get 45, okay? So again, you can pick the ones place, the tens place, or the hundreds place, whatever works. So for example, for this next one, if I wanted to round to the hundreds, okay, I would underline the hundreds place, look next door to the 7, 7 bumps it up, it becomes 300. Look to the 4, keep it down, it becomes 200. So 300 minus 200, I know that is 100, okay? So this one right here, I rounded originally to the ones, and then I rounded to the tens. This one I rounded one to the ones and the other one to the tens. And then this last one right here, I rounded to the hundreds, okay? So it really doesn't matter what you do as long as your answer obviously seems reasonable, okay? But it is important that the smaller the place value you round to, like the ones, for example, the more accurate your estimation is. So this last one right here, this problem, yes, we rounded to the hundreds, and yes, 100 is still an accurate estimation, but it wouldn't be as accurate compared to if we rounded to the tens place or the ones place. All right, so that's the first way, rounding. The second way is just using compatible numbers. Okay, so blank compatible numbers to make it easier to solve. Okay, so what do you think goes in that blank? You want to blank compatible numbers to make it easier to solve. I would say you want to make compatible numbers to make it easier to solve. Make, or you could say create. Okay, so again, we talked about compatible means easy to solve mentally. All right, so again, if you cannot do it in your head, make it easier. So 237 and 5/10. Again, if we use compatible numbers, I can just make that 240, or I can even make it 250, whatever really works for you. Okay, so if I do 250 for that, 345 and 1/10, I can make 340. I can make 350. Again, I'm choosing whatever is easy to do in my head. As long as I don't make this 345 into like 1,000 or something. You want to keep it close enough. So now I can add these together. Remember, compatible numbers usually end in zeros or fives. So I can do 250 plus 350. Okay, and that will be 600. All right, this next one, again, I can round or I can just make it an easy number. So I can keep it 24 if I wanted, okay? And I can make this 18 and 2/10. I could make it 18. I can make it 20, okay? And I know 24 plus 20 is 44, okay? Now, I could have also made these a little different. I could have made this 30 if I wanted to. I could have made this 20 and I would have gotten 50 instead, okay? Again, what you make your numbers to estimate will not always be the same as your partner or neighbor, okay? You may think a little bit differently, and that's totally okay. As long as your answers are close to what the original answer would be, that's totally fine. All right, so let's look at this next one. Again, I can make this a 300, okay? I could also, if I wanted to, make it a 280, okay? It really doesn't matter. This one I can make a 240. If I did that, 280 minus 240, I know I could do that in my head. It's 40. All right, but again, I can also create something differently. I can make this 300 and 240 instead, and I would get 60 instead. All right, so again, as long as what you're making your compatible numbers are close to the original numbers, okay, you just don't want to round like complete or use compatible numbers that are completely far off. All right, so again, I think the biggest thing I want to go over with this, when you're rounding and estimating sums and differences, you are doing this for yourself to make it easier for you to do in your head. All right, so if you cannot do a problem in your head, make it easier for you, because you always want to do, whenever you estimate, even like going to the grocery store or something like that, you always want to know how to estimate so that you can check for reasonableness. Does that make sense? Do I have enough money to buy these things if I just do a quick estimation, okay? You estimate all the time in real life. All right? So the Google form attached to this will kind of go over a few more example problems about how to estimate. And again, your estimation will not always be the same as someone else. All right, you're allowed to be a few numbers off. It's totally okay as long as your estimation is close enough to the original answer. All right, so try your best in this Google form and practice some more rounding and making compatible numbers. All right, have